Welcome to another episode of She's Evolving. I'm Alina, your host and a medical endocrinologist. I've spent the better part of my career looking at hormones, blood work, and the physical markers of health. But lately, I've realized that the most important lab result isn't something I can find in a vial of blood. It's the state of a woman's soul and her permission to exist for herself. Today, we're diving into a topic that feels like a heavy weight for so many of us. The fact that self-care is not a luxury. It is a fundamental priority. Yet, why does it still feel like a crime? Why does taking 20 minutes for ourselves feel like we're stealing from everyone else?
And I'm Julia, a clinical psychologist. I work every day with women who are masters of taking care of the world, but are absolute strangers to themselves. We've been conditioned to believe that our value is measured by our productivity and our sacrifice. If we aren't exhausted, we feel like we aren't doing enough. Today, we want to invite you to change that narrative. If you've ever felt a pang of guilt for booking a massage, taking a long walk alone, or simply saying no to an extra commitment so you could rest, this episode is specifically for you. We're going to peel back the layers of that guilt and look at what's really underneath it. Before we get deep into the why, I want to ask everyone listening to take a second. Just 1 second. Breathe. If you're driving, if you're doing the dishes, if you're walking the dog, just acknowledge that you are here, right now, doing something for your growth. That's the first step. And if you find value in what we share today, please follow the podcast and share this episode with a friend. We're building a community of women who are evolving together, and your support means the world to us.
Elena, I want to start with something personal because I think we both struggle with this, even with our professional backgrounds. I remember a few weeks ago, I had a completely free Saturday morning. No clients, my kids were out, the house was actually quiet. My first instinct wasn't, oh, how wonderful, I can read my book. My first instinct was a surge of anxiety. I felt like I was wasting time. I ended up cleaning the pantry for 2 hours just to justify my existence. Why do we do that? It's funny you say that, Julia, because even as a doctor, I fall into the same trap. I spent years telling my patients to rest, to manage their cortisol, to sleep 8 hours. Meanwhile, I was surviving on black coffee and 5 hours of sleep, feeling like if I sat down for a moment, the whole clinic or my whole family would fall apart. I remember one specific evening. I was so exhausted I could barely see straight. My husband suggested I go upstairs and take a bath while he handled dinner. Julia, I actually felt angry at the suggestion. I felt like he was implying I couldn't handle my responsibilities. But really, it was my own guilt reacting. I felt like I didn't deserve that bath because the laundry wasn't folded. That deserving part is the core of the issue. We've turned self-care into a reward for finishing our work. But as women over 40, we know the work is never finished. There is always another email, another parent-teacher meeting, another doctor's appointment for someone else. If we wait until the end of the to-do list to take care of ourselves, we will literally never get there. We are essentially waiting for a permission slip that no one is going to sign but us. And the physical toll of that waiting is massive. In my practice, I see women in their 40s and 50s coming in with unexplained fatigue, hair loss, weight gain around the middle, and brain fog. They want a pill or a supplement. And while hormones, like the drop in estrogen we experience during perimenopause, are definitely at play, the underlying accelerator is chronic stress. When we neglect ourselves because of guilt, our bodies stay in a constant state of fight or flight. Our cortisol levels stay spiked, which tells the body to store fat and shut down non-essential functions like deep sleep or high libido. Guilt isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological toxin.
It's so true. From a psychological perspective, we're dealing with generations of the good mother or the good woman archetype. For decades, the societal standard for a woman's worth was her selflessness. To have a self was seen as selfish. So when we try to reclaim that self, our internal alarm system goes off. It says, warning, you are being selfish, you are failing your tribe. We have to realize that this alarm is outdated. It's like running Windows 95 on a modern computer. It doesn't fit our current reality.
Let's talk about that reality for a second, because I think women need to understand the biology of what happens when we don't prioritize ourselves. When you are constantly pouring from an empty cup, your nervous system becomes fried. You start experiencing what I call sympathetic dominance. You can't relax even when you have the time. Your thyroid function can slow down because your body thinks you're in a famine or a war zone. Self-care, and I'm talking about real self-care, like nutrition, movement, and rest, is actually the medicine that tells your body it's safe. I love that. Self-care is the medicine that tells your body it's safe. That is so powerful. But Alina, how do we bridge the gap? Because a woman might hear this and think, okay, I need to rest. But the moment she sits down, that voice starts whispering, the kitchen is a mess. You should have called your mother. You're getting behind on that project. How do we handle that mental chatter? Well, from a medical standpoint, I tell my patients to treat self-care like a prescription. You wouldn't feel guilty about taking a life-saving antibiotic, would you? You wouldn't say, oh, I'll take my blood pressure medication once I finish the ironing. You take it because it's a non-negotiable for your survival. We have to view our mental and physical well-being the same way. If you don't take your dose of self-care, your condition, which is burnout, will worsen. And psychologically, we have to practice sitting with the discomfort. When you first start prioritizing yourself, it will feel wrong. It will feel uncomfortable. The guilt will show up at the door like an uninvited guest. The mistake we make is thinking that because we feel guilty, we must be doing something wrong. But guilt isn't always a compass for morality. Often, it's just a habit. I tell my clients to say, hi guilt, I see you're here because I'm doing something new. You can sit in the corner, but I'm still going to finish my tea. That's such a great visual. It's about reparenting ourselves in a way. We also need to address the myths because there are so many misconceptions that fuel this guilt. One of the biggest ones I hear in my office is, Elena, I don't have time for self-care. It's a luxury for people with no responsibilities.
Oh, that's a classic. The time myth. We think self-care has to be a week at a spa in Bali. If it isn't a grand gesture, it doesn't count. But real self-care is found in the micro moments. It's the 5 minutes of deep breathing before you get out of the car. It's choosing a nourishing lunch instead of eating the leftovers off your kid's plate while standing up. It's setting a boundary and saying, I can't take on that extra task right now. These aren't luxuries, they are maintenance. You wouldn't call putting oil in your car a luxury, right?
Exactly. If you run the engine dry, the car dies. It's that simple. Another myth I see is that self-care is expensive. People see influencers on Instagram with $200 face creams and $100 yoga leggings and think, I can't afford to take care of myself. But some of the most effective self-care is free. Sleep is free, sunlight is free, walking in nature is free, drinking enough water is virtually free. The luxury narrative is actually a marketing tactic, but the priority narrative is a health necessity. I want to jump in on a myth that I deal with constantly. If I take care of myself, my family will suffer. This is the martyr complex. We think our sacrifice is the glue holding the family together. But the truth is, when we are depleted, irritable, and exhausted, we aren't actually giving our families the best version of ourselves. We're giving them the scraps. When you prioritize your well-being, you're teaching your children, especially your daughters, how to value themselves. You're showing your partner how to respect your boundaries. You aren't taking away from the family. You're replenishing the source that the family relies on.
That's a huge point, Julia. I see so many women who are physically there for their families, but mentally and emotionally checked out because they are just so tired. They're functional, but they aren't vibrant. And then they hit their 50s, the kids leave the house, and they realize they've completely lost their identity. They don't know what they like, what their hobbies are, or how to even enjoy a quiet afternoon. That's a heavy price to pay for being a martyr.
It really is. I often ask my patients, if your best friend came to you and said she was feeling dizzy, hadn't slept in 3 days, and felt like crying every time someone asked her a question, what would you tell her? They always say, I tell her to stop everything and go to bed. I tell her she's doing too much. We have so much compassion for others, but zero for ourselves. Why are we the only ones not invited to our own circle of care?
It's a profound question, and I think part of the answer lies in the physiological changes we go through after 40. During our younger years, we have higher levels of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which often drives us to be hyper-nurturing and focused on others. As we transition into perimenopause and menopause, those levels shift. Many women describe it as the veil lifting. Suddenly, they don't want to do everything for everyone anymore. They start feeling a bit of healthy selfishness. But because they don't understand it's a natural hormonal shift, they interpret it as being a bad person or losing their touch.
I love that you brought up the veil lifting. In psychology, we see this as a stage of individuation. It's a second adolescence, but with more wisdom. It's the stage where you realize that you are the protagonist of your own life, not just a supporting character in everyone else's story. The guilt we feel is often just the old version of us, fighting against the new version that's trying to emerge.
So, how do we practically start changing this narrative? If someone is listening right now and they feel that knot of guilt in their stomach just thinking about taking an hour for themselves this weekend, what's the first step?
The first step is microdosing self-care. Don't try to change your whole life overnight. Start with something so small it feels stupid. For example, 5 minutes of sitting in silence with your coffee before anyone else wakes up. When the guilt comes, acknowledge it, but don't let it drive the bus. Say, I feel guilty, and that's okay. I'm still sitting here for 4 more minutes. You're training your brain that you can survive the guilt.
And from my side, I'd say audit your energy. Look at your day and see where you are leaking energy into things that don't matter. Are you spending an hour scrolling on social media and then saying you don't have time to meal prep? Are you saying yes to a volunteer committee you hate? Reclaiming that time is an act of self-care. Also, get your labs checked. Sometimes the guilt and anxiety are exacerbated by low vitamin D, low B12, or thyroid issues. Taking care of your biology makes it much easier to take care of your psychology.
Let's answer a few questions we've received from our community because they fit perfectly here. Elena, one listener asked, I feel guilty spending money on healthy food or a gym membership when my kids need new shoes or sports equipment. How do I balance this?
This goes back to the investment versus expense mindset. If you don't invest in your health now, you will be forced to pay for your illness later. That sounds harsh, but it's the medical reality. Chronic diseases like diabetes or heart disease are far more expensive and more taxing on your family than a gym membership or fresh vegetables. By taking care of your health, you are ensuring that you will be around, healthy and mobile for your kids' future. You aren't taking money from them, you are securing a future with them.
Exactly. And another question was, my husband and kids don't seem to realize I'm struggling. If I stop doing everything, things just won't get done. How do I stop feeling guilty about letting things drop? My answer to that is, let them drop. Seriously. We often create a false necessity where we believe things must be done a certain way. If the laundry stays in the dryer for 3 days, does the world end? No. If the kids have to make their own sandwiches for once, do they starve? No. Often our families don't help because we've never actually stepped back and allowed them to see the gap. We fill the gap before they even notice it's there. Stop filling the gap. The guilt you feel is a sign that you're breaking a pattern of overfunctioning. That's a good thing. It's about strategic incompetence sometimes. If you do everything perfectly, no one will ever offer the help. I had to learn that the hard way at home. I had to learn to be okay with a messy kitchen if it meant I got to go for my evening walk. The kitchen didn't care, and eventually my family realized that if they wanted a clean kitchen, they could help.
We've covered a lot today, Alina. We've talked about the biological cost of guilt, the psychological roots of our martyrdom, and the myths that keep us stuck. I think the core message we want every woman to hear is that you are not a service provider. You are a human being with your own needs, desires, and limits. And those limits are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign of your humanity. Taking care of yourself isn't about being perfect or having a perfect body. It's about having enough energy to enjoy your life. It's about having the mental clarity to make good decisions. It's about being able to wake up in the morning and not feel a sense of dread. If you're listening to this and you feel like you've been neglecting yourself for years, please know it's never too late to start. Your evolution doesn't have a deadline. Whether you're 40, 50, or 70, the moment you decide that your well-being is a priority, everything changes. The people around you might be surprised at first. They might even push back, but eventually they will adjust to the new, more vibrant version of you. As we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with a challenge. Sometime in the next 24 hours, I want you to do one thing, just one, that is purely for you. Not for your boss, not for your spouse, not for your kids. Maybe it's a 15-minute nap. Maybe it's reading a chapter of a book. Maybe it's just sitting outside and looking at the trees. And when that guilt shows up, and it will, just smile at it and keep going. You are worth the effort. You are worth the time. And you are certainly worth the inconvenience of someone else having to wait while you take care of yourself. This is your life, and you deserve to be an active participant in it, not just a spectator to everyone else's needs.
Thank you so much for joining us today on She's Evolving. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it. Send it to that friend who was always doing too much, or post it on your social media. Let's start a movement where we replace guilt with permission. We're so glad you're on this journey with us. Remember, you aren't just aging, you are evolving. And that evolution requires you to be at the center of your own care. We'll see you in the next episode. Stay curious, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay kind to yourself. Goodbye for now. Goodbye, and take that breath for yourself today. You've earned it. Actually, you don't even have to earn it. You just deserve it because you're you. Until next time. Elena, you hit on something so vital there. This idea that we have to earn our rest is perhaps the most damaging myth of all. It's as if we believe that unless we are bordering on a total physical or nervous breakdown, we haven't worked hard enough to justify a moment of peace. I see this in my practice every single day. Women come in with their to-do lists, and self-care is always at the very bottom, written in tiny letters, usually crossed out because they ran out of hours in the day. We need to talk about the myth of the perfect provider, this belief that a woman's value is directly tied to how much she sacrifices.
It's so true, Julia. And from a medical standpoint, that sacrifice has a very real, very physical price tag. When we talk about these myths, like the idea that self-care is just a bonus if you have time, we are ignoring the biological reality of chronic stress. When you are constantly in giving mode, your sympathetic nervous system is on high alert. Your cortisol levels stay elevated, which leads to systemic inflammation, weight gain around the midsection, and even cognitive fog. I often tell my patients that choosing to rest isn't just a nice idea. It's an anti-inflammatory intervention. It's as essential as the thyroid medication or the hormone therapy I might prescribe.
I love that, an anti-inflammatory intervention. That's such a powerful way to reframe it. Another myth I want us to dismantle is the idea that self-care has to be expensive or Instagrammable. We've been sold this version of self-care that involves luxury spas, $500 retreats, and organic green juices that cost more than a full meal. For a lot of women, especially those managing a household and a career, that version of self-care feels completely out of reach, which only adds to the guilt. They think, well, I can't afford a weekend at a spa, so I guess I just won't do anything for myself.
Exactly. We've commercialized a basic human necessity. In reality, self-care can be as simple as 5 minutes of intentional breathing before you get out of the car to go into the house. It's choosing to go to bed at 10 p.m. instead of scrolling through your phone until midnight. It's saying no to that extra committee meeting at work because your brain is at capacity. These aren't luxuries, they are boundaries. And speaking of boundaries, Julia, why is it that saying no feels like such a betrayal to others?
Because we've been socialized to be the fixers, Elena. From the time we are little girls, we are praised for being helpful, for being easy, and for putting others first. When we reach our 40s and 50s, we have decades of that conditioning built up. When we finally start saying no, it feels like we're breaking a fundamental social contract. But here's the secret. The people who get upset when you set a boundary are usually the ones who benefited from you having none. We have to debunk the myth that self-care equals selfishness. In reality, self-care is what allows us to be sustainable. If you are a burnt-out husk of a person, you aren't actually giving to your family or your job. You're just performing a role while your soul is empty. That's a heavy realization, but a necessary one. I often see women who feel guilty about spending money on a high-quality supplement or a gym membership, yet they wouldn't blink twice at spending that same amount on their children's extracurricular activities. We've been trained to view our own needs as optional. I remember a patient who told me she felt guilty for taking a 30-minute nap on Saturday afternoons. I had to explain to her that her body was literally begging for recovery time. Her guilt was actually a symptom of how disconnected she had become from her own physical signals.
And that leads us to the myth of I'll do it when. You know the one. I'll start taking care of myself when the kids graduate. Or I'll focus on my health when this big project at work is over. The problem is, there is always a when. Life doesn't stop happening. If we wait for the perfect, quiet moment to prioritize ourselves, we will be waiting forever. We have to learn to integrate self-care into the chaos, not wait for the chaos to end.
It's about making it a non-negotiable part of the routine. Just like you wouldn't forget to brush your teeth or forget to feed your kids, you shouldn't forget to nourish your own well-being. As we move into the final part of our conversation today, I want to reflect on how we can actually start changing this narrative. It's not just about identifying the problem, it's about the active practice of shifting our mindset. You're right, it starts with a conversation, but it ends with action. We have to be willing to be uncomfortable with the guilt for a while. Guilt is just a feeling, it's not a fact. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, it just means you're doing something new. And for many of us, putting ourselves first is the newest thing we've ever done. It really is a revolution, isn't it? A quiet, personal revolution. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave our listeners with a thought. Your body is the only home you will ever truly live in. It's the vessel that allows you to love, to work, to create, and to experience this world. Taking care of that home isn't a luxury. It's the highest form of respect you can show for the life you've been given. That's beautiful, Elena. And to every woman listening, if you've been waiting for permission to take a break, to say no, or to invest in yourself, this is it. This is your permission. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to justify it. You just need to claim it. Remember, when you evolve, everyone around you benefits from the healthier, more vibrant version of you. Thank you so much for joining us today on She's Evolving. This conversation about guilt and self-care is just the beginning. We want to hear from you. What is one small thing you're going to do for yourself this week that feels like a priority rather than a luxury?
Yes, reach out to us. And if this episode resonated with you, if it made you feel a little less alone in that struggle with guilt, please share it. Send it to a friend, a sister, or a colleague who needs to hear that she is allowed to take care of herself too. Let's change this narrative together, one woman at a time. Your journey of evolution is unique, but you don't have to walk it alone. We are here with you every step of the way. Until next time, keep taking care of yourself, not because you have to, but because you are worth it. Stay well, stay mindful, and keep evolving. We'll see you in the next episode. Soft, uplifting transition music fades in. This has been She's Evolving. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review if you enjoyed today's talk. It helps us reach more women just like you. Goodbye for now. And remember, you are your own best investment. See you soon.